Would you look at that? It looks like Democrat Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is getting a little nervous. Recently, he's been sounding the alarm and signaling to other Democrats in the state of Minnesota that they need to come together because truly, honestly, Donald Trump is in play in Minnesota. Now, as a guy that lives in Minnesota, as a guy that's the Republican National Committee man-elect that will represent Minnesota to the Republican National Committee, this is amazing news. And if you watch my content, you know that I've been talking about this polling data forever, but it becomes more real every day that we get closer and closer to the general election. Now, I know that this is very optimistic. And why do I say that? Because Minnesota actually has not went and voted for a Republican since 1972. 52 years. That's how long Democrats have won Minnesota when it comes to the presidential race. But I think that will change this election cycle. Few data points. Number one, in Minnesota specifically, since Joe Biden took office, the price of groceries today is now 33.8% points higher. So that means that if you had $100 in order to go and buy the same amount of groceries that you were buying the day that Joe Biden was elected, you're going to have to spend $133.80 to get the same amount of groceries. And the economy matters because when you aren't making an additional 33% in regards to wages increasing, then that means that you are going to have to make cuts elsewhere in your life. Number two, the Democrats in Minnesota, which we call the DFL, the Democrat Farm Labor Party, yeah, there's a huge split going on in that party over Israel versus Gaza. And it's truly fascinating to watch. Now, this doesn't mean that the people that voted back during the presidential Democrat primary that said none of the above, they would not actually support and vote for Joe Biden in that primary, they're not going to flip over and vote with Trump. That's just not going to happen. But most likely, a lot of them will stay at home, which will help all across the state. And it's this issue. It's not getting any better. In fact, I would argue that it's getting even worse. The divide is becoming wider and wider. And number three, here in Minnesota, we've had a Democrat trifecta for the last 2 years since 2022. So we have a Democrat governor, we have a Democrat controlling the state house and the state senate. And because of that, they've pushed through all types of progressive, crazy nonsense. Literally saying that, hey, if you're an illegal immigrant, come to Minnesota. We're going to make sure to get you on our state healthcare assistance. We're going to give you cash benefits. And we're also going to make sure that if you want to get a driver's license, even though you don't have any proof that you are an American citizen, that's perfectly fine with us. Go ahead and show whatever documentation you have, and we'll give you an official government ID, even though you are a criminal alien and you aren't here legally. Not to mention all the other far left progressive Marxist nonsense that has passed and been signed right here in Minnesota. So when you add this all together, it's a perfect culmination to show that Minnesota truly is up for grabs when it comes to Republicans taking back over control of the state. Now, Governor Walz, the Democrat governor, he's not up for another 2 years, but we could flip the House. And then, of course, most importantly, we could actually flip Minnesota from a reliable blue Democrat voting state for president over to a Republican state. And that would be phenomenal.